All right, I'm Laura Ingraham. This is Ingram Angle from Washington tonight. Disturbing video shows California school board members mocking parents as just wanting their babysitters back, when an outraged mutter from that community is here in a big exclusive tonight. Also, who's populating the Biden administration? Tonight, the Ingram Angle investigates Vanita Gupta, who would be number 3 at the DOJ. And after demurring on the campaign trail, Joe Biden is now fully endorsing a study looking at reparations. The legendary Bob Woodson reacts to that. But first, they don't care about you. That's the focus of tonight's angle. In May 2019, this show traveled to the border town of Del Rio, Texas, to document the growing illegal immigration crisis at the time. Now, record numbers of illegals, family units, and unaccompanied minors were flooding across the Rio Grande. Human smuggling, like drug smuggling, was big business. Soon afterward, President Trump tightened processing of asylees and refugee applications, and he even struck historic agreements with Mexico and Central America to try to tackle the problem here. The number of border crossers, in turn, dropped dramatically. But now, Joe Biden is in the process of reversing all that progress. Beyond creating a humanitarian nightmare at our southern border, his policies will create more economic and security problems for an America that's already on the edge. Simply put, Biden is captive to 2 constituencies: the left, that wants to remake our country with new, more progressive voters, and the donor class, that wants an endless supply of cheap labor. Hardworking Americans be damned. Listen to the pleas of the mayor of Del Rio. This isn't a video you'll see on any other network.
Mr. President, I am pleading and requesting with you to please put a halt to any measures regarding the release of immigrants awaiting court dates into the city of Del Rio. We do not have the resources available to house and accommodate these migrants within our community. If you do send these individuals into our community, we will be forced to make a decision to leave them without resources under these dire circumstances. We may be a small town that is off of your radar, but we have a community of 50,000 people who need your attention. We are requesting that you please listen and that you please come through.
There's something that every American watching right now has to understand. You are not a priority for the Biden administration or congressional Democrats. Your safety, your job prospects, your kids going back to school, your mental health, your freedom. None of that is as important to the left as their desire to fundamentally transform America. And achieving this requires that they pass an amnesty bill as soon as possible, certainly before the next election. You kind of need to be replaced, or at least canceled out, by new voters who will be more compliant when new climate change or pandemic restrictions are enacted. They need new voters who won't obsess about protecting Second Amendment rights or frankly worry about the Constitution at all. We're just learning now the details of the Democrats' new amnesty bill, supported by President Biden, of course, that would grant citizenship to an untold number of illegal immigrants living in the U.S. What will happen? Well, this legislation creates an 8-year path to citizenship. It immediately grants green cards to farm workers, TPS designees, and DACA recipients. It expands the controversial work visa lottery from $55,000 to $80,000 a year, and it exempts children and spouses from any visa cap numbers. It gives dependents green cards. It recaptures unused visas, I love this one, from previous years to clear backlogs, and it eliminates per-country visa caps. It takes the word alien out of the U.S. code. And it greatly expands the number of refugees allowed to settle here by creating refugee processing centers in Central America. Well, it gets worse and worse, if you can believe it. Basically, Biden is going to cease deporting all but the most violent criminals. And Border Patrol officers will no longer be able to ban entry at our borders by those who had already been here illegally on previous occasions. Oh, goody. Well, most Americans aren't traveling out of the country due to the COVID stuff. Illegals will be free to come and go, no questions asked. Now, this legislation is sponsored by rabidly pro-open borders Senator Robert Menendez, who'll call you a racist if you don't support his efforts.
Time and time again, we have compromised too much and capitulated too quickly to fringe voices who have refused to accept the humanity and contributions of immigrants to our country. From John Boehner to white nationalists like Steve King and Jeff Sessions, to a manipulative madman named Donald Trump, there will always be those who stand against immigrants.
Do you understand now? First of all, he just completely blurs the distinction between legal immigrants, which pretty much everybody supports, and illegal immigrants. But you have to understand what he's saying. Belief in strong border enforcement, belief in the rule of law, belief that Americans, not illegal immigrants, should be the #1 priority of our government. And you're no different from a KKK grand wizard. Anything to avoid the top issue for most Americans: opening schools. Because when Pelosi is pressed on that issue, she's her usual rambling mess.
The important point to make on this is where there is a high incidence of COVID, most of those schools are virtual or hybrid anyway, and the vaccination might not make it actual anyway. There has to be a judgment made from the community as to how they go forward.
Is she trying to conjure up the answer with the hand motions? I'll give you a translation of what old Nancy said. Since roughly 89% of students live in what the CDC classifies as COVID red zones, schools are out of session for in-person learning, as far as I can tell, forever. And speaking of red zones, of the cities hit hardest by COVID, 3 of the top 4 are border towns. That's just a total coincidence, I'm sure. So at a time of mass unemployment, with millions of American kids stuck in Zoom hell, why on earth would this be a priority for President Biden? And old Biden used to be for border enforcement, remember?
I voted for 700 miles. People are driving across that border with tons, hear me, tons of everything from byproducts from methamphetamine to cocaine to heroin. It's all coming up through corrupt Mexico.
Corrupt Mexico, the drug traffickers, well, those days are over. Biden's not talking about those problems. The goal is not to protect our border, what he's talking about in that old video, but to open it. It's so bad that starting tomorrow, Biden's going to use taxpayer money to begin physically retrieving the 25,000 migrants now living in Mexico who were, at least temporarily, deported there by the Trump administration pending their asylum hearings. But don't worry, I'm sure he's going to get temperature checks before they board the buses. And maybe even their first dose of the COVID vaccine. I understand some are getting that too. Grandma can't get it, but illegal immigrants can. There may be room for compromise on an immigration bill if there's any sense that Democrats would take enforcement seriously. Maybe they could show us for, I don't know, a couple of years that they'll lock down the border, really enforce it. But we know they won't do that. So this bill, like all the others that came before, will go down in flames. Democrats will turn off millions of already beleaguered voters in 2022. Probably will be all masked up then, too, if the Democrats have their way. And those voters are going to wonder why they ever voted for a party that never put them first. And that's the angle.